Hello and welcome to another HTML and CSS tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to be looking at divs and spans, which are two very useful things for our web pages. Um, the two different tags, the div and the span tags, are made for CSS, and they're basically unnoticed and don't change the way that a page displays until you use CSS to style them. So a div is kind of like a block that we can add to a web page. So we can have a block in our web page where we can apply a particular style to. So a div is kind of like a block, whereas a span is an inline element. So span can be just a section of a heading, for example, or a paragraph. So we can split up a paragraph or a heading or something like that into a different an area that can have its own style. So a div is like a block, and a span is an inline element. It's just on an individual line. Okay, so this is our HTML document that we have set up. In the body section, we've got a heading, and we've also got a paragraph. So what we can do is we can put this heading and the paragraph inside a div. So we can use a div tag, and then we can close off the div tag. And what we'll do, just tab that over, indent the heading and the paragraph. So we can see that both the heading and the paragraph are inside this div tag. If we save that and open it in the browser, you can see that nothing's changed. So we've just got a regular heading and a regular paragraph. Nothing's actually changed, and it's not displayed any differently to the way it would have been displayed before we added the div. So it hasn't changed anything yet, and that's because we haven't applied a CSS style to the div. So remember, in the last few tutorials, we've been applying CSS styles to headings and paragraphs and other elements, but we can apply a CSS style to an actual whole entire block or a div. Alright, so that's how you create a div using the div tag. To create a span, it's an inline a span is an inline element, so it means we need to go inside one of the paragraphs or the headings and add a span there. So say if we want to make these two words here, so is and a, inside the paragraph that says this is a paragraph, say if we want to make that a span and apply just a style to those two words, well then we put the span tag at the beginning before is and close it off after a. So we've got a span here. Alright, we'll save that and go back to the web page and refresh. Nothing's changed, so we haven't added any style to that yet. So what we'll do is I have a separate style sheet here called stylesheet3.css. My web page index.html is in this folder, and then my style sheet is in the resources folder. So stylesheet3.css is there inside the resources folder. So the style sheet is empty at the moment, there's no style there, but inside the head section I need to reference my style sheet. So I can say link rel equals style sheet, and then href equals, and I need to specify the folder that it's in, so resources / and then the actual file name, so stylesheet3.css, and the type is text/CSS. Okay, and then close off that tag. So we've referenced the style sheet, and now we're going to add a style to our style sheet. We're going to add two styles. So we're going to add a style for the div element. So div, and so for this div, if you looked at the previous tutorials, we looked at things like borders and background colors, and so we can apply those things to a div as well. So we'll say border, it's going to be 2 pixels and solid, and the color will be green. But instead of saying green, which we could do, we're going to pick a specific shade of green. So we're going to use a HTML color code or a hexadecimal code. So the green that we're going to use is 00FF00, and we'll add a background color, and that will be yellow, and the tag, or the HTML color code we'll use is FF00. And then the width of this div will be 200 pixels. Okay, so save that. We'll save the index.html web page. We refresh. We now can see that the heading and the paragraph are both inside a div, and the div has a yellow background and a green border. Okay, so we also specified the width of this div. So if we go back to the style sheet, we can make it a little bit wider. We'll double the width of that. And we might even add a height property there. So height can be 400 pixels as well. Save and refresh. There we go. So we have a div there. All right, now I don't actually like the height of that div, so I'll change it back to 200 pixels. And that looks a bit better. All right. So we've added a style for the div. If we go down, we can also add a style for the span element. So our span, we can change the color of the text inside this span, which is inside the paragraph. So we can change the color to blue, and we'll use a code for that. 2E6 4FE for a nice blue. And we'll also change the background color. And the code we'll use is, we'll make it white. So white is pretty easy to remember. FF, FF, FF. So 6 Fs for the background color. So it's white. And then lastly, we'll add a text decoration. So we'll underline this text. Save. Now, I haven't modified anything on the HTML page, so I don't need to save that. I only need to save the style sheet. So Control S or Command S to save. Refresh. And now you can see that the text inside that span, so just the two words is and a, the text is blue, there's a white background, and it's also underlined. So if we go back and have a quick look at the HTML file, there's a paragraph, but there's also a span inside that paragraph. So we're just selecting a small portion of that paragraph. We're creating a span there, and if we go back to the CSS style sheet, we have styled that span. So we have given it a text color, we've given it a background color, and we've also underlined that text. Okay, so that's basically how to set up divs and how to set up spans on a web page using HTML and CSS code. In later tutorials, we'll look at how to use divs a little bit more. So how to use divs for things like headers and footers and sidebars, and organizing the layout of our web pages. Okay, thanks for watching.